everybody. Today's story is a story of absolute tragedy. The loss of a child, the carelessness of her mother, and the pain experienced by her grandparents, as well as the entire town that they resided in when sweet little Kaylee went missing. This is the story of Casey Anthony and her daughter Kaylee Anthony, God rest her soul, as well as Casey's parents, George and Cindy Anthony. George Anthony was a policeman and Cindy was a nurse. Their daughter Casey was very well known for lying. The first lie that we are aware of was when Casey dropped out of school altogether and she didn't even attend a single class through over half of her senior year. She wasn't just skipping all of the classes that she didn't enjoy going to and showing up for the ones that she liked. She just flat out wasn't going. And she bold-faced lied to her parents and let them plan for her graduation party. And the only reason that they were even informed that Casey was not graduating was because they called the school, and the school informed them that Casey would not be graduating due to the fact that she had not attended a single class through the last semester at all. So the entire last half of a year, she just flat out didn't attend. When Casey became pregnant with Kaylee, she, for some unbeknownst reason, lied about the very fact that she was pregnant until she was a full 7 months along and was not able to hide her pregnancy any longer. Sources say that Casey wanted to give the child up for adoption, and when she brought this up to her mother, Cindy reportedly told Casey she would not be allowed to abandon her baby, otherwise she would be cut off by her parents and she would not be welcomed back into their family home. Casey was apparently so distraught about the idea of this that she had decided to keep little Kaylee, and as soon as she was born, she was said to be the absolute light of her grandparents' life. But Kaylee was, in my opinion, sadly born to a mother that did not care for her in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, which is extremely sad. Everybody who lived in that town, who lived outside of the Anthony home, claimed that Casey was, by all reports, a very decent mother. She took care of Kaylee Anthony to the best of her abilities. Which is, exactly what people would hope for when somebody has a kid. But, on July 15th, 2008, everybody was proven wrong with a single phone call that was made to 911 by Kaylee's grandmother, Cindy.
My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where?
But the babysitter took her a month ago. My daughter's been looking for her. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. And she just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Kaylee. Caylee. Anthony.
Kaylee Anthony?
Yes.
How long has she been missing for?
I have not seen her since the 7th of June.
Is your daughter there?
Yes.
Can I speak with her?
Okay, Sheriff's Department, they want to talk to you. Answer the question. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you tell me what's going on a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me a little bit what's going on?
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
What we just heard was Cindy Anthony. So after the first 2 calls that Cindy had originally made about her card and her car, Cindy had called about her missing granddaughter, and she was so absolutely fudging distraught
while her daughter seemed completely cold, unemotionless, and not giving a shit about the fact that her daughter was missing. Good job, Casey! Parent of the year, not.
Car and credit card fraud, which is what she had called about before because her daughter had been missing for her daughter and granddaughter had been missing for over a month and she hadn't seen them, so her attempt to try to find Casey and subsequently find Kaylee was to report her credit card fraud, which they had done in an attempt to try to find Casey and subsequently find Kaylee because they had no idea where she was. That very same day, George had discovered Casey's car that he had loaned her, and they had reported it stolen in an effort to find out where their daughter was and subsequently their granddaughter. Casey herself, however, seemed cold and unemotional about the fact that her daughter was missing. As well, Casey had said that Kaylee was abducted by somebody that she said that she knew. The child's nanny, Zanny, whom she said she had been leaving Kaylee with for over a year.
And you know who has her?
I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today, now from a number that is no longer in service. I did get to speak to my daughter for about a minute.
Who has her? Do you have a name?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She's been my nanny for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was stupid. I think the officers are here.
The officers are there?
Yeah.
The child's nanny, Zanny, whom she said she had been leaving Kaylee with for over a year off and on, and that she had met Zanny through a co-worker at Universal Studios. Spoiler alert, Casey hadn't worked at Universal for over 2 years at that point, and we will not be naming the man that Casey actually, because Casey never actually met him, like, at all. He stopped working at Universal Studios months before she started working there, and they had never met one singular time. And the other co-worker we're also not going to name because they don't even exist. She had completely made up a person who she claimed to work with at Universal Studios and also gave them a fake name for her boss. Okie dokie artichoke. So anyways, Casey was obviously blatantly lying the entire way through the investigation, as we could tell. As well as the full name that she gave the officers for Zanny. As a matter of fact, it was reported almost a year after that the name that she had got for the elongated name for Zanny, Zaniba Hernandez Gonzalez, she actually got off of a random credit card that she found. She had found a card with the name Zaniba Hernandez Gonzalez, which she thought would be believable enough to say that that was Zanny. It was short for Zaniba. Whether Casey knew that the real Zaniba had a babysitting business 3 cities over that had been operating from the same address for over 4 years or not, I am not sure. But it easily proved that she had lied to law enforcement about the address, but for the sake of the case, they let her lead them on the craziest goose chase that they had ever been on themselves. And they just let her do it anyhow. And they went to every single place where Casey could think of to be either Zaniba's or Zanny's mother's addresses. But the place where she said that Zanny lived had not been occupied in months, and it was also housing for the elderly, meaning that Zanny could have never lived there in the first place. And when they questioned all of the neighbors in the area that not only had they never met or heard of Casey, but Zeniba and her mother had also never been heard of or seen by any of these people. She said that she had a phone number for Zeniba, but it had apparently been disconnected when she took Kaylee. However, apparently, Zanny was able to reconnect it somehow for a 5-minute conversation between Casey and Kaylee, only to quickly disconnect the number again within an hour that very same day. Okay, Casey, I didn't believe you in the first place, and now I really don't. I'm sorry, but that you're proving yourself a liar as you're lying. You're proving that you're lying while you're lying. Because, I'm sorry, if my knowledge of the phone system is still correct, one cannot disconnect a phone number and then have the exact same phone number registered to themselves just by calling up the company. She may have blocked her number or something, but it's not going to come up as disconnected either. It's just going to go straight to voicemail. Anyway, when officers pressed her for the phone number, Casey refused to give them the number, even when they explained that they could still track and go through the calls of a disconnected phone number as long as they are performing a lawful investigation, which they would be, but Casey still refused to give them the number, stating it's disconnected, so it's useless. Casey, you are so fucking stupid. And why the hell you are not at least trying to comply with law enforcement so that you can try to find your baby? I'm not entirely sure. But you're a piece of shit for not trying. Anyway, so when the officers asked to speak to the two co-workers that Casey claimed to have told about this, and they asked to speak to her boss, Casey had put on her old uniform, and she had led them there, even going as far as to take a 30-minute walk around the inside of the building with them. And at some point, she turned around, giggling as if she was playing a game with the officers, and said, "Okay, you caught me. I haven't worked here in 2 years, and I don't know anyone here."
Where we are right now is in a position that doesn't look very good for you. Because obviously, I know, and you know, that everything you told me is a lie, correct?
Not everything that I told you.
Pretty much everything that you've told me, including where Kaylee is right now.
That I don't know where she is.
Sure you do. And here's,
absolutely
listen,
do not know where she is.
Let me explain something. Looking at you, I know that everything that you've told me is a lie. I am very confident, just by having talked to you a short period of time, that you know where she is.
I legitimately have not seen my daughter in 5 weeks. I didn't let anything happen to her, except I trusted her with somebody that had been taking care of her, that had been taking good care of her. Someone that she was comfortable with, that I was comfortable with.
What about Jeff? You said Jeff worked here until about 2 months ago?
No, he hasn't worked here for quite a while.
10 months? How long?
It's been at least 10 months.
Okay. He got fired in 2002. He hasn't been an employee here since 2002.
We put a lot more together than I think you realize we put together. My question to you is, we're in this office because our purpose in coming here was to do what?
I'm trying to think of places where I know she's been.
You're not answering my question. Do you want us to help?
Yes,
you want to help us find your daughter?
I do want you to
Well,
help.
a good starting point would be to answer the questions, okay? If I say to you, we're here because, and then you just ignore that like I never asked it and go off in some other direction, is that answering the question?
No.
Okay. Let's go through this again. We're here because.
Because I lied, because I brought you up here, and honestly I was reaching for
No, stop
another
right
avenue.
there. I want you to tell me how lying to us is going to help us find your daughter.
It's not going to.
Well, then if the main thing you want to do is find your daughter, and you don't think lying to us is going to help us find her, why would you do that?
Because I'm scared, and I know I'm running out of options. It's been a month.
What are you scared of?
I'm scared of not seeing my daughter ever again.
I'm a parent too. I would have been beside myself.
I have been.
I would have called the police immediately, and that's the part that I just don't understand. Well, we've got so many resources out there that we could help on day one.
You didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, they haven't been gone that long. Maybe I can find them. Maybe I can track them down.
We're not stupid, okay? And what you're doing right now is you're treating us like we're stupid. Everything that's coming out of your mouth is a lie. Everything. Either you gave Kaylee to someone and you don't want anyone to find out because you think you're a bad mom, or something happened to Kaylee and Kaylee's buried somewhere or in a trash can somewhere, and you had something to do with it. Either way, right now, it's not a very pretty picture to be painting. You're painting yourself as a very bad person. It needs to end.
The truthful thing is that I have not seen my daughter. The last time that I saw her was on the 9th of June.
Remember we had those two people that we were talking about, the person who had an accident and a person who's just a cold-blooded, callous monster? That's telling me that you are the second person, this cold-blooded, callous monster who doesn't care and doesn't want to help because she's afraid that something so heinous happened that everyone's going to look at her and say, she's a monster, she deserves to go away, she deserves to never see the light of day, this bad thing should happen to her. I don't want to believe that right now, but you're giving me no choice. Tell us what happened to Kaylee. Tell us what happened to Kaylee.
I dropped off Kaylee. And that's the last time that I've seen her. I dropped her off.
Where did you drop her off?
I dropped her off at that apartment.
No, you didn't.
That's exactly where I dropped her off.
Did you just think that one day she's just going to show up at your house?
No. I sat around yesterday trying to figure out what to do. I'm glad that I ended up seeing my mom, that all of that stuff happened. It happened for a reason because
you're glad you saw your mom. You could have saw your mom 5 weeks ago and said, Mom, I don't know what.
I saw my mom's reaction right off the bat, and it would have been the same from the get-go.
So wait a minute, you're more afraid of your mom's reaction than you are if you ever see your daughter again?
No, I'm absolutely petrified. Absolutely petrified. I know my mom will never forgive me. I'm never going to forgive myself.
Is it that there's some other thing more important in your life right now that you just weren't really focused on what you were saying when you told us? So you kind of just accidentally told us you had an office here and we needed to be here? Or did you purposely mislead us? Which of those two is it?
I purposely misled.
Okay, so you purposely misled us. This was all an attempt to help find your daughter, right? That makes sense to you, correct?
In a backwards sort of way, yes.
Backwards sort of way.
I'm coming back to places that are familiar to me, that I know are familiar to her. Familiar situations that maybe, just maybe would help. She's almost 3.
She's almost 3. What do you think, she's going to take a cab here? I mean,
I know
how do you think she's going to get here?
Because she's with someone else.
She's with someone else who's hid her from you for 5 weeks.
Yes.
Why would a person who has hid your daughter from you for 5 weeks, okay, bring her to the building that you used to work at?
I don't know what else to do anymore. If I knew where she was, if something would have happened, I would have admitted that a long time ago.
Do you believe thinking up more lies to tell us will help us?
No. She's with someone that I absolutely do not trust. And that I'm absolutely scared that
you don't trust yet was babysitting your daughter for a year.
I don't trust her now because of what happened.
Who did you call first? Who did you go to for help first to help try to find her?
No one.
Oh, no one. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that straightened out.
During the search for Kaylee, her mother Casey put every obstacle that she could possibly imagine into the way of the police. From straight up lying about everything that she said could have happened to her daughter, to the reason that she didn't call the police. Kaylee was found deceased, wrapped up in her baby blankie with the Winnie the Pooh print on it, a black trash bag, and the remains of a blue tarp fabric, presumably from a sports bag. DNA and substance analytics on Casey's trunk found extremely high levels of chloroform. And the gentleman who did the tests on the air samples said that Casey's trunk had the highest levels of chloroform that he had ever seen in any investigation that he had done in his entire career. So that's pretty frigid high for an air testing expert. Yeah. They also found a small brown hair with a death band. A death band. And a stain in her trunk the same shape and size of a curled-up toddler. Kaylee's body was found in an incredible state of decomposition, with the mandible and jawbone in the same position that it would have been in the point of time before she died. Her body was found with duct tape wrapped around her skull, in a position that it would cover her mouth and nose, with a little heart-shaped sticker on the duct tape over top of where her nose was. Her body was also reported about 3 times between the time that she was murdered until she was found, and thanks to assistant meterman, whom refused to believe that it was really just discarded trash and went and took a closer look himself before making the third 911 call, and because the third call was made after Kaylee's disappearance report, and because it was made clear that he found human remains, the police finally found Kaylee just over 200 feet away from her own home. Her grandparents, who have been searching for her day and night, drove past her unknowingly every single day. Her grandparents, who had spent every single second since they found out that she was missing searching for this little girl, drove past her body every single day and did not even know it. Let that sink in. The news of Kaylee's death absolutely broke her grandparents, but her mother seemed to have already accepted that Kaylee was gone quite a while ago, and without any type of grief, which seems like the last thing that any loving parent would do. Logic and typical human emotion, you know, that thing that most people tend to have that apparently Casey Anthony did not have, you know, that thing. The typical human emotion would be to be worried about your child, immediately get a hold of the authorities, and typically to be upset when you find out that your child is passed on. But oh no, not Casey Anthony, no. She was coldly and calculatedly lying at every single turn, completely emotionless about everything other than eating food that she did not like.
Coleslaw today. Tell them I ate coleslaw.
Well, you probably eat a lot of things you never used to eat before, because when you're hungry, you'll eat.
I hated bologna. I've been eating bologna and cheese on occasion. Grits. I don't do grits at all. It's terrible.
Can you imagine your child is missing and possibly even dead, and you're telling them to look in Mexico and complaining about eating grits and coleslaw and crying about that as if that's the worst to you in your mind than the fact that your child is gone? Because I, for one, absolutely cannot imagine that. I cannot imagine being that person. Casey Anthony was arrested and charged for criminal child neglect, first-degree murder of her daughter, and multiple counts of impeding an investigation by means of lying to the police. The jury did not find her innocent, but they did claim that the less than 10% of a shadow of a doubt that the defense sowed was somehow enough to find her not guilty. But honestly, in my personal opinion, that also means that they were all 91% certain that Casey Anthony murdered her daughter. So how is it that less than a 10% of a shadow of a doubt that came from nothing other than the lies of an already proven liar, considering that she was found guilty of all counts of impeding an investigation by lying to authorities, Think about that one. She lied to authorities about the disappearance and death of her daughter. Now, let's get back into the hair. The hair that was found in Casey's trunk. Just for 1 second. You might be wondering what a death band is. Well, a death band is a black band that forms around the root of the hair only when the person that the hair is attached to has already deceased. For some unbeknownst reason, they were unable to DNA test it completely, but they were able to figure out that it came from a family member. And they were also able to determine that the hair was the exact same length that you would find coming from a toddler. It matched Kaylee's hair color. It was untreated. And it was the same length as what Kaylee's hair was. Now, Casey was also informed that it was proven that the hair was one that belonged to someone in the Anthony family, but Casey's hair was not only a different shade length, and Casey obviously wasn't dead, so that rules her out. And there's also the fact that Cindy was both alive and her hair was treated. It was treated and bleached blonde. So that definitely ruled out Cindy. Then it wasn't her hair. So that only leaves little Kaylee out of the 3 female family members. And even if they did not find her body in the trunk, they found proof of a young deceased family member in her trunk directly before they found Kaylee's body, which was only 200 feet away from her family home. Now, personally, that is enough proof, along with the sheer lack of care that Casey had for her daughter in general. Now, all of this is leading up to a point, and the reason that I became even more disgusted with this woman, as well as the reason that I am making this video. Casey Anthony has started a TikTok, and now let's see what she has to say. 17 years after she allegedly, which I have to say to avoid a lawsuit, but we all know, after she allegedly murdered her daughter.
It is Saturday, March 1st, 2025. This is my first of probably many recordings on a series that I'm starting. I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011. And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter. For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. My daughter is Kaylee Anthony. My parents are George and Cindy Anthony. Moving forward, the majority of what you will see will be me speaking in a professional capacity. My goal is to continue to help give a voice to people, to give people tools and resources that they can utilize so they actually know where they can turn to. So with that, please join me on Substack. If you have questions, I will set up an email address where we can correspond directly. Up until this point, that has never happened. And it's only going to be on a limited basis regarding legal issues, legal matters. One of the main reasons that I'm doing this, there are people close to me who have been targeted and attacked recently. There are also people close to me who have had some recent things occur. And when necessary, people needed to step up, myself included. So as a proponent for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights, I feel that it's important that I use this platform that was thrust upon me and now look at as a blessing as opposed to the curse that it has been since 2008. Embracing this piece still going to keep my privacy intact, so you will get very comfortable with my car. And I will explain in great detail why it's so important for people to protect their privacy.
She says that she has been a part of the system for a very long time, and that she is now a legal advocate, and that she is now advocating for herself and for her daughter. Now, I think that she could have done that when she first went missing in the first place, and in my personal opinion, if she did not kill her daughter, she would have gotten a hold of the police in the first place. For one, she would not have lied her ass off at every turn. For two, absolutely no parent that cares about their children would have done either of those things. As a loving mother, she would have immediately gotten a hold of the authorities. A loving mother would have never ever given any false information that would have made it more difficult to find their child, would have given them absolutely any details and any information that they could even possibly think of giving, even if it does make them look bad. They would not give a shit about their own reputation as long as their child is found. Somebody please correct me on this one if I am wrong. And they would have given all of the information, whether it makes them look bad or not, just in sheer anxiety, wanting to make sure that their baby is brought back safely. But no, Casey did not do that. She went out partying and hooking up with some random club owner without a singular care in the world about the whereabouts of her daughter. Casey's father, George, during all of this was absolutely distraught, to the point where he physically attacked his daughter, yelling in her face, begging to know what happened to Kaylee, which no person should ever have to do to their child in an effort to find out the truth about the fate of their granddaughter. And in complete honesty, the simple fact that Casey was trying to pin this on George in the first place kind of disgusts me. Because the way that George was acting, that is not a man who was guilty. And the fact that he got a couple of dates mixed up, like, with the amount of anxiety that man was going through following Casey to try to find Kaylee, yeah, sure, he would probably do that. And he definitely wouldn't know what day it was because he would be so distraught and stressed out trying to find his granddaughter. It is absolutely understandable for him to get a couple of dates mixed up. So I'm sorry. I do not want to hear any of Casey's excuses or trying to blame her father, nor do I want to hear anything about Casey's father allegedly mahexually assaulting her, because this was a 22, 23-year-old woman, and this fact has never, ever, ever been brought up to absolutely anybody until the trial. Really? Really? I'm sorry, but that alone makes me think that allegation is complete fudging bullshit. Now, my personal theory, based on nothing but the evidence provided, and that Casey, before Kaylee's court trial, Casey's father, George, claimed that Casey was dosing Kaylee with Xanax in order to make her sleep soundly through the night while Casey was out partying. Now, I myself have known since childhood, early teens, that Xanny is a street term for Xanax, and that a lot of party girls who don't seem to care enough to pay for childcare will dose their children with the drug in order to make them sleep while they're gone so that they can party it up, along with the fact that Casey Google searched chloroform, how to make chloroform, how to make chloroform yourself, neck breaking, suffocation, and last, but at most certainly not the least, foolproof suffocation. Honestly, this is my theory based on this, and it has not been proven in a court of law. This is only my theory and what I have come up with based on critical thinking and my own knowledge and the evidence provided. I think that Casey didn't want to be a mom at all. I think that she's seen Kaylee as an inconvenience and a hindrance to her lifestyle. I think that when Kaylee started to develop a tolerance for Xanax and that wasn't working anymore to make her sleep through the night, Casey looked up chloroform because she wanted to figure out a way to keep Kaylee sedated. And she made herself up a batch. And she used it to knock out her daughter so that she wouldn't struggle. And I am saying she used it to knock out her daughter so she wouldn't struggle because the possibility of the idea that she could have been using the chloroform to dissolve her daughter's body. I am not going to put out the ingredients in chloroform, but I am going to say that I have accidentally made it doing the dishes once. And I needed to go to the hospital. It is extremely easy to make with chemicals that most people just keep randomly under their sink. So it is extremely possible for Casey to have just mixed some up. And all three of the ingredients in chloroform are known to slowly dissolve things. So think of this information however you would like to think of it, but these are things that I know. I know this from my own experience. The idea that she was trying to dissolve the body with the chloroform is absolutely unthinkably terrifying. So I'm going to say that she used the chloroform to knock her daughter out so that she would not struggle. And while her baby girl was peacefully knocked out, she put the duct tape over her mouth and nose and wrapped it around the skull to keep it in place. Before she even checked to make sure that she had fully passed on, she wrapped her daughter in her Winnie the Pooh blankie and stuck her body into a trash bag and tried to tape it shut. But I'm assuming that some of Kaylee's hair was sticking out of this trash bag. She had taken the body out to the car and put it into the sports bag that was already in her trunk. And some of the hair from that little girl must have been hanging out of the bag and snagged on something while she was rotting in Casey's trunk for 2 to 3 days. The hair pulled off once it was snagged while she was in the trunk. And before the smell got too bad, Casey abandoned her baby daughter's close to the home that she grew up in and left her car in a random location. At that point, Casey was in her mind free to do as she pleased and party as much as she wanted. And she thought that absolutely nobody would question it, as long as she could still say, "Oh, Kaylee's with Sandy the nanny." And then she wove any story that she could think of to avoid getting caught. Now, that is just my theory. That is not, to my knowledge, exactly what happened, but that is my theory based upon the evidence that was presented and critical thinking. As well as the fact that Casey did not seem to give a singular shit about the fact that her daughter was gone. She did not seem to care when she found out that her daughter died. She just didn't care. She did not care about Kaylee at all. And that's extremely sad. And the fact that she is saying that she is now advocating for her daughter. You mean the daughter that you allegedly strangled, the daughter that you allegedly suffocated, put into a trash bag, and then threw into a swamp like she was garbage? That daughter? The daughter that you allegedly murdered? Is that the daughter that you're talking about? I keep forgetting. And to come in here and say that you're advocating for people's privacy and the LGBTQ movement. I'm sorry, but LGBTQ, I am a member of the LGBTQ. I am not a part of the Alphabet Mafia, but I am still the B in the LGBTQ. And I'm sorry to tell you, honey, but we don't claim you. You are not one of us. We do not want you. The LGBTQ is not a place for you. In the club, we are not all fam, hun. Okay. Just saying. And women don't want you. Women don't fucking want you advocating for anybody. Every woman who I know who has that primal estrogen in that just that primal wave of estrogen every single time they hear your name, there is not a single woman in this world who wants you, Casey Anthony, advocating for anybody. We do not, no. Once again, the female species does not claim you, Casey. And I pray to God that you don't have another kid. You do not deserve to have children anymore. To be completely honest, I sincerely hope that anybody who has children, I hope that every single person in every community that you ever go to completely ostracizes you and shuns you. And if any singular person ever speaks to you, they are automatically reminding you immediately what you did. And the fact that you got away with it, you sick bitch. Because yes, she was found innocent in a court of law. She was found not guilty in a court of law. But guess what? She is not found not guilty in a court of my brain. I know what she did. And there is not a single person who has forgotten what she did. And I'm sorry, legal advocate for people's privacy, my ass. The only reason that you give a singular shit about anybody's privacy, Casey Anthony, is because you don't want your story getting continually spread. And I am sorry to tell you this one, honey, but every single person on the internet is going to make sure that that never happens because we all despise you, you horrible, evil human being. I am not going to ask anybody to like the video if you like the video. And I am not going to ask anybody to subscribe for this video. Because I feel like this is too heavy of a topic to ask anyone to like or subscribe. But I would like to ask every single person who watches this video whenever they watch it, that I am filming tonight. I would like to ask you all to tell me what you think down in the comments. I do not want any moderation for the comments in this video whatsoever. I am going to be liking the comments. I'm going to be reading every single one of them. Probably not going to be replying. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to try to keep this topic out of my mind for a little while because it is affecting me very badly. I sincerely wish that I could launch this woman into the sun where she belongs. The fiery pits of space. Because I don't know if we can send her to the fire. I can't legally say let's send her to the fiery pits of hell, but let's send her to the fiery pits of space. We can launch her into the sun. I'm sure Elon has the technology now. That crazy bastard. I literally hate Elon Musk, but I'm gonna be honest, I am certain that he has the technology locked away somewhere for us to send Casey Anthony directly into the sun. And we need to beg him for it. Anyway. I love you guys. I will see all of your beautiful faces in the next video. I am so sorry about this rant. Oh, I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Mwah.